H.P. Baxter was born Hans-Peter Geerdes. Rick J. Jordan's real name was Hendrik Stedler. These two musicians met in Hanover, Germany. This meeting happened in the mid-1980s. They quickly found they shared a deep passion for music. Specifically, they both loved synthpop music. Bands like New Order and Depeche Mode were very popular at that time. These groups were big influences on them. Baxter and Jordan decided they wanted to create music together. Their early musical experiments showed a lot of promise. They soon aimed to form an official band. Celebrate the Nun was officially formed in the year 1986. The band's name was quite distinctive and unusual. It certainly helped to catch people's attention from the very start. Their musical direction was firmly rooted in the synth-pop genre. They wanted to create songs with catchy, memorable melodies. They also focused on making rhythms that people could dance to. Keyboards and various synthesizers were absolutely central to their developing sound. H.P. Baxter and Rick J. Jordan began writing their own original songs. Their unique musical ideas started to take solid form. This period was an exciting and creative time for the founding members. Britt Maxim soon joined the developing band. Her birth name is Britta Maxima. She became an important female vocalist for the group. In addition to singing, she also played the keyboards. Her voice provided a very appealing contrast to H.P. Baxter's deeper vocal style. This interplay between their voices created a lovely and interesting dynamic in their songs. Britt also added a significant visual element to the band's image. With her involvement, the band's overall sound became much more layered and rich. She also greatly contributed to their energetic stage presence during live performances. Slyn Thompson was the final member to complete the original lineup of Celebrate the Nun. His real name was Frank P. Wiatros, though he was also known as Frank Frosch. He primarily served as a keyboardist and a programmer for the band. He also skillfully handled some of the percussive elements in their music. The four members began to work closely together. They spent many hours in rehearsals, practicing their songs. They continually refined their distinct musical style. Soon, they felt ready to take their music to a much wider audience. Their strong collaboration was truly key to establishing their early signature sound. They slowly built a small but dedicated local following. The members of Celebrate the Nun worked very hard to secure a record deal. They diligently sent out their demo tapes to various music companies. Eventually, their music caught the attention of West Side Music. This record label was based in their home country of Germany. Later on, their music was licensed to the major label EMI. This important deal allowed for much wider distribution of their songs. This was truly a very big and significant step forward for the aspiring band. They eagerly began all the necessary preparations for recording their first full-length album. They were very excited to record their songs in a professional studio setting. Their debut album was given the title Meanwhile. It was officially released to the public in the year 1989. The overall sound of the album was very characteristic of the late 1980s synth-pop scene. It featured a collection of polished and well-crafted synth-pop tunes. H.P. Baxter's unique and distinctive lead vocals were a prominent feature on all the tracks. Britt Maxim's singing added a softer, often ethereal touch to the songs. The album presented a good, thoughtful balance of energetic, upbeat tracks and more reflective, slower songs. It successfully showcased their considerable potential to a much bigger international audience. The production quality was notably clean and professional for a debut release. The single Will You Be There quickly became their first truly notable and successful song. It was one of the standout tracks released from the Meanwhile album. The song possessed a very strong and instantly recognizable synth melody. It also featured a highly memorable and singable chorus. H.P. Baxter's clear lead vocals drove the song forward effectively. Britt Maxim provided excellent complementary backing vocals. The lyrics of the song were relatively simple. They touched on common themes of relationships and longing. The track was perfectly designed for both radio airplay and for playing in dance clubs. It soon started to gain significant attention on an international scale. Will You Be There achieved a surprising level of success, especially in the United States. The song climbed the charts and reached the number 5 position. This peak was on the prestigious Billboard Dance Club Play chart. This impressive feat happened in March of the year 1990. For a German band at that time, this was a very significant achievement indeed. Another single from the album, titled She's a Secretary Strange, also performed quite well. It helped to further build their growing reputation in the synthpop world. Because of these successes, Celebrate the Nun gained many new fans outside of Germany. Their music was effectively reaching new listeners across the globe. After enjoying their initial wave of international success, the band experienced a notable change. Slyn Thompson made the decision to leave Celebrate the Nun. This departure occurred before the band began to work seriously on their next album project. The specific, exact reasons for his leaving the group are not widely or publicly known. It is common in bands that members sometimes have different creative ideas about music. Alternatively, personal reasons can also lead to such significant lineup changes. His absence from the group would certainly mean a shift in their established working dynamic. The remaining band members had to adjust to this new situation. Celebrate the Nun continued their musical journey as a trio. The remaining members were H.P. Baxter, Rick J. Jordan, and Britt Maxime. They did not make any public announcements about seeking a replacement for Slyn Thompson. It is very likely that Rick J. Jordan took on more of the keyboard playing and programming duties. This change in lineup might have subtly affected their live sound during performances. Their work in the recording studio would also be different, with one less member contributing ideas. They remained focused on moving forward and creating new music together. This new three-person dynamic inevitably shaped their next full-length album project. The band then began the process of working on their second album. This new record was eventually titled Continuous. Understandably, there was some pressure on them to follow up the success of Meanwhile. They naturally wanted to develop and evolve their sound further with this new release. Perhaps they were aiming for a slightly more mature or refined synthpop style. The album was carefully recorded and meticulously prepared for its official release. It finally came out in the year 1991. Fans of the band were quite curious to hear their new material. The general music scene itself was also slowly beginning to change around this time. Unfortunately, Continuous did not achieve the same level of commercial success as their first album. It ultimately failed to produce any major hit singles that could climb the charts. Some songs, such as Patience and You Make Me Wonder, were released as singles from the album. However, these tracks did not chart significantly in any major music markets. The album itself received somewhat mixed attention from music critics and from their fan base. It seemed that the strong momentum generated by Will You Be There had noticeably faded. This period was undoubtedly a challenging and perhaps disheartening time for the band members. The future of Celebrate the Nun seemed less certain than before. The early years of the 1990s witnessed very big and impactful changes in popular music. The widespread popularity of synthpop music was noticeably decreasing. Completely new genres, such as grunge rock from America, were becoming extremely popular. At the same time, electronic styles like techno and house music were also experiencing a significant rise, especially in Europe. This rapidly changing musical landscape made it much harder for existing synthpop bands to thrive. Bands like Celebrate the Nun faced a much tougher and more competitive market. Gaining consistent radio airplay for their new songs became increasingly more difficult. The general audience's musical taste was clearly shifting towards new sounds. Celebrate the Nun found themselves struggling after the release of their second album. The record Continuous did not provide the chart-topping hits they desperately needed. As a result, their visibility within the wider music scene began to steadily decline. It became harder for them to get bookings for large tours or prominent festival appearances. The overall lack of significant chart success was naturally very discouraging for the band. The members of the band likely felt this mounting pressure quite acutely. They had to seriously consider their future options in this evolving music world. The initial synth-pop wave that had carried them was clearly receding for many similar acts. Eventually, the members of Celebrate the Nun made the difficult decision to disband. This formal end to the band happened around the year 1992. The significant decline in synthpop's overall popularity was a major contributing factor to this decision. The limited commercial success of their second album, Continuous, also played a crucial part. It marked the end of an important era for the band and its members. They had managed to achieve some notable international success during their career. Their memorable song, Will You Be There, remained their biggest and most enduring legacy. Their synth-pop journey as Celebrate the Nun had reached its conclusion. However, after Celebrate the Nun disbanded, H.P. Baxter and Rick J. Jordan did not stop making music. They soon had a pivotal meeting with Jens Thaly. Thaly would later become the manager for their massively successful project, Scooter. Initially, Baxter and Jordan formed a remix team called The Loop. This remixing project proved to be quite successful in its own right within the dance music scene. Then, in the year 1993, they teamed up with Ferris Bueller, whose real name is Soren Bueller, to form the band Scooter. This new band, Scooter, went on to achieve phenomenal international fame and sell millions of records. Britt Maxime's path after Celebrate the Nun disbanded is less publicly documented.